My name is Dr. Waddell Brooks, Sr., your host, and this is Community Forum. We're very excited this evening. We have three exemplary guests. Mr. David Northern, Executive Director of the Lake County Housing Authority. Cindy Herrera, Consultant, Lake County Housing Authority from South Carolina. And our anchor person is Mr. Torian Priestley, the Benoit Group, Atlanta, Georgia. Greetings, folks.
Thank you.
We're very happy that you've taken time from your very busy schedules to be with us on Community Forum. The Comcast population is approximately 100,000. We air at 7 o'clock every Thursday evening. It also airs in the city of Chicago on CAN TV, channel 19, 21, and 36. Of course, 36 is the religious channel. Also in Kenosha County, it airs at Time Warner TV, channel 14. We get two showings there. We get one Saturday mornings at 8 a.m. For the early risers, and then again at 1 p.m. every Thursday. So we get and we think it's very important that the population know about the redevelopment of Marion Jones homes there in North Chicago. It is an exemplary homes there, and I'll be learning right along with my listening audience all about the Marion Jones homes, even though I live in North Chicago, but not knowing exactly what goes on over there. So, Mr. Northern, you're the Executive Director of the Lake County Housing Authority, and I'd like for you, first of all, tell our listening audience a little bit about your personal and professional background.
Okay, again, first of all, I want to say I'm happy to be here talking to the citizens of Lake County and the surrounding area about this development. My name, again, is David Northern. I'm the Executive Director of Lake County Housing Authority. I've been in the housing industry for about 18, 20 years. I started in student housing, where my first job out of college was at the East Chicago Housing Authority. So I came up to Lake County about 5 years or so later, back in 2002 as the Deputy Director of the Lake County Housing Authority, and worked under Alan Jeffrey, who was a great leader.
Oh, yes.
I took over Alan's leadership a little bit around 2008. And I was the Executive Director for the Lake County Housing Authority up until recently. I took a short step away to go out to Philadelphia, and I came back to work for the citizens of Lake County.
Tell us, pique your interest to get involved in housing.
Well, you know, going to college, you never think about what you're going to be when you grow up. You know, my first thought was I'm going to be a pro football player. But, you know, that don't work for everybody. So while at Ball State and attempting to work hard to become a pro football player, you know, I realized that I had to change my skill sets and my mind toward a career in life. So I changed my major to accounting, and I started looking at ways to stay in the university. And so one of the ways was become a housing manager for the university. So that was my first stint in housing as a resident housing manager at Ball State University.
Cindy Herrera, I'm going to give you the same opportunity that I gave Mr. Northern. Tell our listening audience a little bit about your personal and professional background.
Thank you. I'm Cindy Herrera, and I'm the president of Cindy Herrera and Associates, which is a private program management and consulting company that works with affordable housing developers and housing authorities around the country. A little bit about my background. I do live in South Carolina in the Charleston area right now, but I'm a native Illinoisan, born and raised in Aurora, Illinois, and most recently basically worked at multiple housing authorities in Illinois. Began my housing career because I was a foreign exchange student in high school, and went to Costa Rica, where I learned to speak fluent Spanish, and began working at a housing authority because they needed someone bilingual. Kind of grew up from there, and went on and worked for the Wheaton Franciscan Sisters in Wheaton, Illinois, and then basically went and started my own company about 18 years ago. And like I say, we work with housing authorities, the Department of Housing and Urban Development, as well as affordable housing developers, assisting in the redevelopment of affordable housing throughout the country.
Cindy, we're very happy you volunteered to leave South Carolina for 2 or 3 days and to come to North Chicago to make sure that there was proper communication, you know, about the Marion Jones townhomes, you know.
Well, thank you. Marion Jones is very special to me because in my career, I did have an opportunity to work for the Lake County Housing Authority.
Okay.
And I worked at Marion Jones for about 4 years back in the early 1980s. So it's a real pleasure to be back and working with the city of North Chicago and Lake County and with Marion Jones residents.
You've been part of housing for quite a few years, but you might tell us, how did you pique your interest in housing?
It was strictly by chance. After I had been a foreign exchange student, I got a call one day with somebody telling me they had a bilingual job available. And I said, well, where is it? And they said, well, it's at a place called the Land Clearance Commission. And I said, what's that? And they said, well, we think it might be a construction company. Well, lo and behold, I went there, and it was actually the local housing authority. They started out as a Land Clearance Commission from back in the 1960s, the urban renewal days. So I started working there while I was still in college. And that's where I began to learn everything about affordable housing.
Well, welcome back to Lake County.
Thank you. I appreciate being here.
Okay, now our anchor person is Mr. Torian Priestley. He's with the Benoit Group in Atlanta, Georgia. Yes. So welcome to Lake County.
Thank you.
We'd like for you to afford you the same opportunity that I afford the other two, Mr. Northern and Ms. Hireb, to tell our listening audience a little bit about your personal and professional background.
Definitely. Again, I'm with the Benoit Group. I'm Executive Vice President for the Benoit Group.
Okay.
We're a commercial real estate firm focusing in affordable housing and also market rate housing and student housing.
Okay.
I'm originally from North Carolina, graduated in architecture engineering from North Carolina A&T in Greensboro, North Carolina, where I started out in construction. And wanted to hone my talents into something a little bit different than just construction, and went into the real estate world.
Okay.
Currently have been in real estate development for approximately 19 years, where I've worked for market rate developers and also for banks as asset manager and development person from that perspective. So from my perspective, starts out in construction and in engineering, but now have really honed those talents more on the real estate side and really developing not only great developments, but also creating a good atmosphere and a sense of pride for all the residents that we have development within the country.
So you're not just local, you're national then, right?
Yes, we're based out of Atlanta. We actually have a small office in Chicago. That small office serves pretty much the Midwest for us, looking at different development opportunities here and around Illinois. And also we have our corporate office, which is located in Atlanta, whereby we cover states from North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia, Florida, Tennessee, and Alabama.
Well, one person could be here tonight, and I have to give her credit for putting this program together, and that's Valerie Rogers. She's the executive assistant for the Lake County Housing Authority. And Mr. Northern, I'd like for you to say a few words on her behalf.
Well, I don't know, executive assistants, don't say it all. Val's a great resource to the Housing Authority, and it's been a great part of success for the whole Housing Authority. It's been there a number of years and played a number of roles, and she's a #1 asset there.
Okay, I had to include her in the group too.
Thank you for doing that.
But give us a little background, a little history of the Marion Jones homes.
Well, first let me start by just explaining the Lake County Housing Authority and what we do as an organization.
Okay.
The Lake County Housing Authority, we provide affordable housing and also affordable education about housing to residents here and citizens here at Lake County. We own 620 public housing units throughout Lake County, along with the units located in Marion Jones townhomes, 125 in the city of North Chicago. We also run a Section 8 program with 2,803 vouchers.
Wow.
We have other programs that we operate. We are Certified Housing Counseling Organization by HUD. Also, we're a state sponsored agency for the Hardest Hit Funding, which help a number of possible foreclosed families stay in a home.
Well, we have so many people, like I was for a long time, see Marion Jones over there, nice development over there, but assume that it was on an asset rolls of the city of North Chicago.
Yeah, yeah.
But we found out later that it's on the rolls of the Lake County Housing Authority, right?
Yes, yes. Actually, Marion Jones Townhomes was the first development created in Lake County and was created by the Lake County Housing Authority because at the time North Chicago didn't have a housing authority. I believe North Chicago's housing authority came into existence in the early 80s.
Okay.
So at that time, Marion Jones, of the development of Marion Jones, it was under Lake County Housing Authority.
Yeah, you're about 50 years old, 50, 51,
yes.
I think you had mentioned before, you know. But now we're talking about the redevelopment plans
yes,
for Marion Jones.
Yeah.
You want to tell us why is it necessary to have redevelopment plans?
As most citizens know, our federal funding is continually decreasing. We're in a time now of sequestration, which was our budgets were hit tremendously hard. But before that even happened, we had started thinking about what can we do with development like Marion Jones to keep it viable, being over 50-something years old,
okay.
Being traditional public housing, having 125 units of traditional public housing there. Over the last few years, our capital fund budget is what HUD gives us and allocates to maintain and upkeep those our public housing units like Marion Jones. The funding there has decreased over years. At one point, say back in 2010, we had over $1 million. 2011, it was like $896,000. And in 2012, we received about $826,000. And so hopefully in 2011, we're looking at an estimated, hopefully in 2013, this year's budget with sequestration, we may get about $750,000 at best.
Wow.
So we have to figure out different ways to maintain our properties. And so one thing that the Housing Authority has to do is go out, all housing authorities in the United States has to do physical needs assessments. Okay. So we can understand what do we need to keep our property safe, decent, and sanitary for the citizens that we operate these developments for. So in terms of the Marion Jones townhomes, that estimate was $28 million.
Okay.
That it would cost to bring it up to today's standards.
Is that just the normal, because it appears to look in good shape from the outside.
Yeah.
But
yeah. well, one thing I can say is that the Lake County Housing Authority Board and the staff over the years done a great job at making sure that we provide the right amount of resources and that we provide the right level of staffing at the Marion Jones townhomes. We've dedicated additional dollars for security, over $100,000 plus each year over a number of years to provide additional security for the development. We had a very active, and we maintain a very active resident services program, a summer camp and summer food program where we work with the kids. You know, we try to help educate the kids. A couple of summers back, we brought teachers, actually some teachers from the city of North Chicago schools in to help tutor the kids in the summer to get them better prepared to start school. And so how that development looks today is because of the board and the staff of the Housing Authority provide top-notch services and care to that development, as we do all our developments. So looking at it, you couldn't tell that it's deteriorating and it's costing the amount of money that it costs.
You mentioned about the infrastructure. Tell us about the infrastructure. You mentioned about $28 million to maintain. Yeah,
when we talk about the infrastructure, mainly I'm focusing on the underground infrastructure. You know, we have a number of streets there that's you know, in bad disrepair and that we need to upgrade, but the sewer lines and the water lines need some work done also.
Yeah, we're talking about the same. The Lake County itself is talking about the same thing for 14 streets.
Yeah.
The same thing there, I guess. Nothing has been done in a long time.
Yes,
many years for that. So that's going to be, they're looking for redevelopment there too, to redo these streets from, I guess, Green Bay Road to maybe Jackson, I think it is.
Yeah.
And
see that's something that's great, because if you look at the proposed development, you know, with the Lake County government, the streets, you look at our development, that's a lot of dollars that's coming into the Lake County area.
Okay.
You know, and that's a lot of jobs that'll be able to come into the Lake County area to help our citizens here in Lake County grow. But if we focus on the Marion Jones development, what we're looking for is to bring some today's standard type housing for that community and make sure that that housing meets the current guidelines, and also it's a viable product that we could move into the future with.
Tell us about that up-to-date housing you think about. It sounds like you're not talking about the same type of housing that's there now.
No, well, we have our developer here, so I can allow him to explain some of them.
Definitely, definitely.
Okay, well, he's throwing a football to you. He's a great quarterback.
I'll definitely try to catch the pass. In some of the things that he's talking about, not only from the infrastructure on the rehabilitation side with the physical needs assessment that was completed for Marion Jones, you have to look at the overall square footage of the units, some of the interior amenities, appliances. You want to bring those now up to date, utilizing Energy Star lighting, Energy Star appliances, low flow shower heads, low flow toilets. Those things are going to be very good on the overall operations for the project, in addition to provide larger square footage units, also to start coinciding with some of the accessibility issues that you have to deal with on a lot of the property. So those things with a new development will be included, and to give that quality housing to the residents from that perspective.
Okay, what type of staffing do you have for?
Well, we would actually go out and have a third-party property management company, but that would work in conjunction with the Lake County Housing Authority to provide staffing and operations for the property. And those budgets are set within the overall development budget, whereby we have a certain amount that's spent per unit for operation, keep up, administrative services, salaries for property management, and so forth and so on.
How long has this been in the planning stage?
Well, from the perspective of the developer, we were just awarded the RFQ. We went out, a request for qualifications about a year ago. And we basically replied to that RFQ in relation to Lake County Housing Authority looking for a developer partner. So we've been included probably over the last, I would say, 6 to 8 months in regards to just the general information about the project, trying to come up with a concept that would be viable, financially viable, to be able to develop in the future.
Let me put this on pause for one moment and get to Cindy. Cindy, what role does a consultant play in this project?
I serve as an advisor to the Housing Authority. I actually work for the Housing Authority in a contractual arrangement. And basically what I do is bring to them an expertise that they may not have in-house. And I'm responsible for assuring that all of the HUD approvals are secured properly and that everything is done in accordance with the federal regulations. I will provide them guidance in the relocation process. I actually began by assisting them initially in looking at the assessment of the property and helping them reach a decision on what was the best thing to do with Marion Jones, given the great amount of rehabilitation that was needed once we identified the infrastructure problems. And from there, I assisted them in the solicitation process to find a partner that would work with them to redevelop it. And I prepared the demolition application, submitted it to HUD. I interact with HUD in trying to secure the approval of that. And then basically we'll also represent the Housing Authority in all the negotiations with the developer, prepare the documents. And then because this is a HUD mixed finance property, there's a whole set of legal documents that will have to be pulled together as we move forward with the financing, and I'll review all of that and help them go through that process, assuring that the Housing Authority's interests are included and that in fact the Housing Authority is truly a partner with the development company, because it's a partnership between the private developer and the Housing Authority that's going to result in the redevelopment of Marion Jones. The federal government just doesn't provide funding any longer to build housing. So the way that you do new affordable housing in today's world is that you have to secure financing from the private real estate market. And that includes a variety of types of financing, such as low-income housing tax credits, tax-exempt bonds, private mortgage funds under the HUD FHA insurance programs. So there's a variety of financing that gets put into this, and they can be very complex deals as far as how they're structured. And so my role is to bring the expertise on knowing how to structure those so that it's to the benefit of the Housing Authority. This
is very interesting, because that's the purpose of this show too, is to update people and and communicate to the people that the different aspects of financing, and you mentioned about development of homes and this type of thing. And now you mentioned about development of homes. What type of homes? Is it mixed income, or high income, Section 8 home? What type of homes?
It will be a mixed income community, but it will have an affordability component, so it will have all levels of income. There'll be some market rate units that are unrestricted. There'll be units that are under the tax credit provisions. Those are for families that are at 60% of the area median. And then there'll also be units that have subsidy tied to them for lower income families, for the families that currently reside there to be able to return, and they will all have the first opportunity to return to the newly constructed property.
Well, let's talk about this process now. You have, well, how many?
125.
125 families. Units.
Yeah, we have 125 units.
Yeah.
All of them may not be occupied at this point, but we have 125 units out there with varying bedroom sizes, from 1 bedroom to 5 bedroom size units.
Now, will there be an orderly exit of the families from? Because eventually all of the families will exit, though, right?
Yes, eventually.
Is there orderly way of exiting?
You know, once we get our final approvals through HUD, then it allows us the opportunity to start offering the families relocation. With that relocation comes a varied amount of services, counseling, you know, moving expenses. Part of their relocation, they receive a voucher, a housing choice voucher, which gives the family a choice to, you know, move where they want to live, move where they want to move.
Okay.
Gives them an opportunity to pick and decide where they want to go in terms of family, and that may be staying in the city of North Chicago. It may be, you know, going to Puerto Rico if they choose, because it's a territory and has vouchers there also. So it's a family choice.
Family choice, okay. So how do you communicate that to the families living there? Because I'm sure it's been in the planning stage approximately 5 years or so for the planning.
Well, the
approval has not come through yet. So.
Yes. Well, we felt years ago we had to figure out, just like with Marion Jones, all our properties, what do we do when the funding gets low? What do we do when the cost to manage and run this property is more than the value of this property? So we had to look at the ways to make sure that our properties, you know, whether they Marion Jones or not, are viable into the future for our clients and our citizens here in Lake County. And so, yeah, we started thinking about what can we do. The funds going, which ways should we rehab, should we not rehab? Should we rebuild, should we not rebuild? Should we redevelop it, or should we not redevelop it? And so as time went on, we decided, hey, redevelopment was the you know, way to go with this. We want to keep our presence in the city of North Chicago and provide better housing in the city of North Chicago for our current clients there in Marion Jones at this particular time.
I was hearing from one of the public officials in the about some of the families were packing up already and so forth, and that's one of the reasons for this forum, you know. What does she mean by people packing up already? And when you said we don't even have HUD approval yet, right?
Yeah.
So well, how did that?
Well, we're excited about this development. Like a lot of the residents that currently live in Marion Jones, they want an opportunity, you know, to experience maybe the voucher, or they may want to stay in the city of North Chicago with that voucher, or they want to see what's going to happen as a result of our redevelopment. So it's a lot of people when they heard that. That we're considering this and we're submitting a plan to HUD, you know, they got excited, and maybe a few, you know, jumped the gun and started. But we clearly told and continually tell our residents that they shouldn't pack up, they shouldn't move at this point. It's only preliminary. It hasn't been final approval, and we will help and facilitate that process. We met with the residents, we met with community leaders, and we met with the local officials, you know, during this process thus far, and we continually do so. Tonight we even have a few meetings with the North Chicago School Board along with the citizens at Marion Jones Townhomes.
Well, we're very happy too, because when Cindy first heard about it, she planned to jump right on a plane to come here to talk with, we had a radio program today, and we had community leaders for lunch, and now this evening, this afternoon again, we have a community forum to let people know, and there's another forum for you guys with the school officials.
Yes.
That's correct.
So the transparency is great in you guys' part, right? You want to get the correct information out.
It's
Absolutely.
important to get the right message out, and from the beginning, we want to have one voice in that right message. We even created on our website on LakeCountyHA.org. It's a section called Marion Jones Redevelopment, where citizens, local officials, anyone can go out. They can even send an email, and we'll respond to any emails. We have a special email set up, but I did also dedicate to provide an email blast to our city officials in Marion, in the city of North Chicago, along with a few community leaders that want to help get that message out.
We had several at the forum that advanced their emails too, to make sure. And you had mentioned about they can go to the website and get up-to-date information. We had at least one alderman there, and
County board person.
A county board person too will get it to their constituents out. You know, I know Torrent Priestley from Benoit. You just anxious to get participate also. But how was Benoit selected? Was there? Were you just a popular group out there that they grabbed? What's the process?
I hope we are a popular group. But again, I think I mentioned before, there was an RFQ process where we competed against various other developers. And that qualification went through a various of our experience, our capacity, and our capabilities to develop these type of developments, which are mixed income developments. And, you know, from the Benoit Group standpoint, our track record with other housing authorities to develop these type of developments and redevelopments for the housing authority. I think the one thing that we bring to the table that may be a little bit different is that we truly are partners with the housing authority. Their vision is our vision. We work together to create that quality housing for the residents. And as I tell everyone, the residents are our clients, and we want to make sure we provide the best thing for them. So we're here to give the expertise on going out, obtaining the major financing that's needed to put these type of deals together, to also mitigate risk. You know, that's very important in real estate transactions. You get a lot of people that can, you know, put together tax credit applications or HUD applications, but when it comes to long-term viability of real estate, that's what we're brought to the table to bring those expertise. As Cindy's brought, you know, the HUD side of it, we're now bringing the real estate side of it and the long-term viability of the redevelopment of Marion Jones development.
Mr. Priestley, your background in academic is architectural engineering, right?
Yes, sir.
But you made for our listening audience, for those graduating seniors, maybe freshmen in college, thinking about going into architectural engineering, it's quite a bit involved. You have to be eloquent. And it's
Benoit, there you go.
Benoit. You know,
That's right.
It's more than just the pencil and paper or the computer and so forth. You got to be able to.
Well, the program that I went into at the time, back in 1989 at North Carolina A&T, was a 5-year program. And we dabbled in every engineering discipline related. We took classes in electrical engineering, mechanical engineering, in industrial engineering, also some in chemical engineering, where from the architecture engineering side, which is something a little bit different than the typical architect student, the engineering part of it gets into how the fluid dynamics work within a building, or understanding the structures, steel structures, concrete structures related to that. How I use all of that today is really giving a vision to our third-party general contractors, our architects, our civil engineers. I can speak their language. I can also speak the real estate language, the finance language, the property management language. So that's what a developer is. So outside of me and my background in architecture and engineering, a developer has to be well versed in a lot of different things related to redevelopment and property. So if you want to go into architecture and engineering, it's a great way to go. But also you have to make sure you're able to be diverse in a lot of different other areas.
Okay. There's also a strategic plan, really, for the Benoit Group for the Marion Jones, right?
Yes.
Is this a strategic plan? You just don't, dab into it without, like I mentioned about it, they've been thinking about it for about 5 years, and your plan has to take quite a while too, right?
Well, the plan is actually together. There isn't a separate plan that the housing authority has and the developer has from that perspective. It's the exact same plan.
Okay.
We're working on the same parallel time frame, but there are some things that the housing authority will be doing to work with HUD to get their approvals. In the same at the same time, I'm putting together information so we could submit to the Illinois Housing and Development Authority to obtain tax credits for the project. So we're working in a comprehensive plan that's basically lined together to move to a successful end.
And I like Cindy, the Benoit organization is not a stranger to you because they're not new kid on the block, right?
Right.
And you're comfortable with them, right?
Yes, I actually have had the opportunity to work with the Benoit Group in Fulton County, Georgia, and most recently in Champaign, Illinois.
Okay.
They were not had not done a lot of mixed financing till several years ago. I had a client, Fulton County, Georgia Housing Authority, that was redeveloping a site that suddenly could no longer be redeveloped because the Atlanta airport added a 5th runway, and there now were noise issues, so it wouldn't pass the environmental test.
Okay.
And the Benoit Group had another vacant piece of land that they came to ask about doing something with, and I said, oh, by the way, have you heard about this thing called HUD mixed financing? Would you be interested? And kind of recruited them into it, and since then they've worked with several other housing authorities, but the Lake County Housing Authority went through a very extensive process of solicitation. And there was a formal solicitation document. We actually had 9 very good development companies that responded from all over the country.
Okay.
Some out of the Chicago area, some, like I say, from all over the country. And there was an evaluation committee made up of housing authority commissioners, staff, local representatives, county board member. Very many people locally were involved in the solicitation evaluation. Pastors, local pastors.
The pastors.
Yes, exactly. And so through that,
real Christian here.
yes, exactly. Through that evaluation process, a scoring was done, and we narrowed it down to 5 teams. And then the 5 teams came in and did personal interviews.
Okay.
The team then basically from the interviews narrowed it down to 2 firms that the team actually went and did site visits. So there was a group of people from Lake County that went to the Atlanta area and actually visited some of the properties that Benoit has developed and has had in operation. And then ultimately they ended up with the highest scoring qualifications.
Fantastic.
It was close, though. We had some great companies.
It was great companies, exactly. It was a very good process and tremendous interest in redeveloping the site.
And what that tells me, and not to interrupt you, is that
it's your program.
I don't know about that. My name's not on the credits, but what that tells you, having actually it was 10 companies. One turned in its proposal late, so we only was able to grade 9 based on our policy guidelines.
Okay.
That is interest in redevelopment in this area. That 9 top-notch companies that came in on a timely basis said, "Hey, we're willing to do something here." And out of that, we was only able to select 1. However, that just brought us the opportunity for more redevelopment to go on, or more development to go on in the city, in the surrounding city of North Chicago.
Then it's not entirely based on low bidder, then.
No,
there's no price involved at all.
Oh,
it's
okay.
qualification based only.
Yes.
It's based on your
Fantastic.
qualifications.
Professional services.
Right, correct.
Okay. Well, for the people listening, they want to get down to the nitty-gritty.
Uh-oh.
Okay.
Timelines for starting and completion of the redevelopment of Marion Jones.
Okay. The process started obviously with a vision and a conceptual plan,
Okay.
and the solicitation process to bring a partner on board. But simultaneously, we also had to go through the processes with HUD to say why is it that we want to demolish Marion Jones and go
Okay.
through a formal demolition application process.
Okay.
We actually began that process almost a year ago, and we're anticipating that we would have been a little bit farther along. But you know, HUD basically is very busy, and because of the sequestration has had many furlough days and,
right.
and less staff to work with.
Okay.
So the process has taken a little bit longer than we had anticipated. Right now, as based on our conversations with HUD as of last week, we anticipate that we should have the formal demolition approval by the end of this month. If once we receive that, then we will begin the specific meetings with the residents about the relocation process. We've given them general information, but then we have to begin the one-on-one counseling with each family. We'll do an assessment of each family and understand what their needs are. We will make relocation optional starting in September, and then by next spring it'll have to become mandatory. Any families that remain there, we will have to get them to relocate. As we mentioned, we have a meeting with the school district, and we're very concerned about coordinating with the school district.
Yes.
So we'll be working with the school district and deciding exactly when all the families will need to be out. So while the relocation is underway, then we'll also be working on firming up the redevelopment plans as far as what will be rebuilt back on the site.
Oh.
And again, that's a combination of folks that participate in that, from the city, obviously the city, city planning, city stakeholders, to basically the housing authority, the developer, the architect, the engineer with the design. All of that will be going on simultaneously while the relocation's going on. And then once we have kind of a final plan that's blessed by the city, then we would begin all of the financing applications. And the financing applications would go through a process so that we would anticipate that we would have all of the residents relocated by the end of the school year, 2014.
Okay.
The demolition would go out to bid, and we'd have the demolition contractor on board and start the demolition. As we relocate families, we'll begin to consolidate them into a single area of the property so that we could start demolition with certain buildings on the outskirts of the property. So all of that will be happening simultaneously. We would anticipate the demolition would be completed by the fall of 2014, and that we'd be able to break ground for some construction immediately thereafter. And we would anticipate probably an 18-month construction period, with the goal of having some new units back on the site by 2016, late 2015, yeah, late 2015, early 2016 is what we would anticipate.
Now, those families relocating probably will not relocate back there because
They will have first right of refusal, and that's very important. And what we experience is that some do come back, particularly the seniors, because we are looking at having, right now Marion Jones does not have any specific senior housing, they just have the one bedrooms mixed in.
Okay.
We're looking at having a specific senior facility that is designed with the amenities that will make it a little bit easier for seniors, elevators and, you know, amenity space that seniors would be interested in. And so we would look at, most likely the seniors will come back. Some of the families do come back, some of the families do not. As we mentioned, very importantly, the families relocate with a housing choice voucher, and it's called housing choice because it allows them to make the choice about where they choose to live.
Okay.
So some families will come back, some families do not. And so, you know, we just don't know. We will stay in touch with them throughout the time period. The families will be asked to always let us know where they are. Because they have vouchers, the Housing Authority will continue to have their data, and they will get letters when the time comes that they could begin to reapply to return to the site.
Mr. Rutherford, you mentioned about, keep forgetting this number, 125 units there, and you plan to work with the city. You say you have to work with the city too about getting more units
Yes.
in there.
Well, like I said, it was a tremendous interest from developers just for the Marion Jones development, the redevelopment. So if anyone is familiar with the North Chicago community and familiar with Marion Jones that runs along 14th and Dugdale, you would know that it's a number of development opportunities there in that whole general neighborhood. So one of the things that's important when you talk about redevelopment, especially in the days of budget cuts and making it tremendously more difficult to redevelop. You know, you want to use this as an anchor and as an opportunity to grow in other development opportunities. So a partnership with the city, a partnership with local churches, a partnership with the school district, a partnership with the parks will give us a better opportunity, not just for the clients that deal with our programs in Lake County at the Lake County Housing Authority, but the citizens of the city of North Chicago.
I'm sure they would welcome it because when you say redevelopment there and maybe businesses, maybe someone mentioned about a grocery store, other convenience stores, and you know, they toss it out. They've been harping about drugstores, whatever, but other potential possibilities that the citizen would benefit from.
Yes.
Of the whole city of North Chicago.
Exactly.
Oh, that's tight. And the type of homes, though, you may. Now, oh, by the way, I mentioned about the type of homes, but if it's middle income or high income and so forth, then you would. How would that work? You have to get permits, approval from the city to have more units than 125.
Well, the plan has to be blessed.
Right.
So
It be blessed by the city.
yes.
The property currently is restricted for affordable housing, okay, and it would continue to have the same use. We're not anticipating any change in use. We
Okay.
would anticipate a little bit of change in density because we would like to bring back more units. The market seems to show that there's a demand for them. So right now, the conceptual plan would be looking at about 186 family units and a 50-unit senior facility. So that's what the conceptual plan calls for right now. So we'd be coming back with about 230 units compared to the 125 that we now have. But if you're familiar with the Marion Jones property, it does have a lot of space.
Oh, yeah.
So it would not be overly dense at all. We would want to be very sensitive to that. But it would go through a planned unit development process with the city. As far as getting it rezoned for the density, it would be specific to that property.
Okay. And the area allows itself for growth too, right?
Oh yeah.
There's a lot of land
There's
adjacent.
a lot of land right
adjacent
around.
to the site,
Yeah.
And I'm
correct.
sure the city would be happy to have someone develop the land.
Yeah, we're more than willing to partner and work with the city in some of their goals as it relates to development, because you know, like I mentioned before, you know, we're the Lake County Housing Authority, and we happen to own property in the city of North Chicago, like we own property in a lot of municipalities here in in Lake County. However, our goal is to help families and help communities and help citizens of Lake County become self-sufficient. So any development that we have, it brings jobs to the community. Any development that we have that will spark other opportunities, like you mentioned, a grocery store or other type of development, it helps the community. So, you know, with bringing more residents there, yeah, it'd be helpful to have a grocery store there, or places for those residents that can go to work to.
Jobs, jobs, jobs.
Yeah,
I think
that's important.
Mr. Priestley, I think someone mentioned to you about jobs. Is there a great opportunity for you to hire local people? Is that in the plan?
Yes. Part of what we do from not only on the development side is when we have a general contractor on board, we work on having workshops related to MBE, WBE, and DBE, and also Section 3. And that is to afford opportunities to minority companies within the area, and subcontractors, vendors, laborers, carpenters, electricians, to be able to work on our projects. Since we're a minority real estate development firm, we are very cognitive of that aspect and making sure that that is a mandate with us, but also it's a mandate from the housing authority to have a certain percentage of MBE participation and also Section 3. So we again during the process of the development process, we'll have workshops, various workshops for the local vendors and subcontractors and laborers to come out and hear about the project, hear about the various opportunities related to the subcontractor market, and be able to you know, afford them the opportunity to get on the project and have a job, because that's very important. Again, we've talked about, you know, the sticks and bricks, but now we're talking more of the social aspect of people getting jobs, having employment, and it may be only for an extended amount of time, but that could be very beneficial to a lot of different families. So we do you know, see that and appreciate that, and make sure that we do the right things as far as the workshops, and making sure the general contractor understands that he has to have that participation.
Mr. Priester, you also mentioned about you had made contacts already, so you get advanced planning. You talked with a pastor, Arthur Gass?
Yes, with the Black Chamber of Commerce. Yes, okay. I actually came up and sat down with him, and he gave me information about the local sub-market, which is very important. We really talked about MBE participation, WBE, DBE, and Section 3, and some of the programs that he has in place. Yes. So we're already, you know, reaching out to make sure that those things are included in our overall development plan. So again, we're doing more things than just rebuilding, but really looking at how we make the residents better and also serve the community.
I mentioned about Pastor Gass, you know, he mentioned about church, and because Pastor Gass is a pastor that thinks out of the box. For example, he attended the North Chicago Chamber of Commerce, you know, and he, I guess, probably attended the Lake County Chamber of Commerce too, and found out when he attended that it just didn't meet the needs, you know, of minority contractors and minority workers. So he organized the Black Chamber of Commerce of Lake County. Doing and also he has training programs. There's an academic. I say academic. I don't mean academic, but training contractors, you know, tradesmen, you know. But also there's another group called Youth Build of Lake County. Are you familiar with that group?
Yes, through
do you want to tell us about the Youth Build?
Well, see, now that's something that's dear to my heart, because you know, when I first came to Lake County over 10 years ago, it was Youth Build North Chicago.
That's right. It started right at
Daisy Resource
Development Center. Okay.
And that was one of the most fortunate things I had the opportunity to do, is started working toward it. So
you were on the board of directors too.
Yeah. We really worked hard with Youth Build, and one of the things that I'm proud about, and when you talked about jobs for the local community, that's something that's near and dear to our board at the Lake County Housing Authority, and something that's part of our mission, is to provide self-sufficiency and train clients in order to work. And working with Youth Build, we have a lot of opportunities to work on our developments and our properties throughout the Lake County, but also the canopies that Marion Jones Youth Build did those canopies years ago. It wasn't canopies there, but we worked with Youth Build and partner, and they built those canopies as a training basis.
No charge.
No, it was
it
was donations. That was over 10 years ago. In my brain, you know, it's not as good as it used to be 10 years ago. But one of the things we did do, I sat down with Laurel, who was the director at the time of Youth, who was the director of Youth Build Lake County, and we came up with a plan to say, hey, let's have an internship program with the federal funds decreasing. What we did is said, let's have an internship program where you can bring in some of the Youth Build and work on Lake County Housing Authority's properties as training opportunities. And as a result, some of those Youth Build participants received jobs. As a matter of fact, the Housing Authority hired a number of them. And not just, you know, maintenance type jobs, but we train other clients of ours to work in the office. So we have clients, we have members of Youth Build, so we go out and make sure that we provide job opportunities. So when you talk about Marion Jones coming in, we talk about something that we already do and we work hard on doing, making sure that our clients, our Section 3 environment, and all the citizens of Lake County, you know, are represented in a correct way and have an opportunity to be employed.
You know, how does this affect property taxes for citizens in North Chicago?
Well, the Marion Jones property has not been on the tax rolls since it was developed. Under the federal program, basically public housing is exempt from taxes. And when it's redeveloped, it will still be owned in partnership by the Housing Authority. The Housing Authority will be one of the partners in it. And so it will remain, at least in the immediate future, it'll remain under the same status.
That's included with the new land that you're trying to get. That's still be non-taxable, right? If you get the land, you mentioned about the land south of Manchester and O's, and
it makes a payment in lieu of taxes. There's what's called a pilot payment. It stands for payment in lieu of taxes, and there's a formula that the federal government provides, and the Housing Authority makes that payment in lieu of taxes on an annual basis.
Sounds like similar to impact aid for at the Navy. You know, Navy's
right. It's similar. It's somewhat similar. Exactly. It's somewhat similar. So it's basically federal land that's restricted under a federal provision, and there is a pilot payment that's made on an annual basis. It varies each year.
Okay. Then there's a plan for it per amount per student.
Correct.
Or whatever.
Correct.
No, not per student. I'm thinking about the schools.
Per resident. It actually is based on.
Type,
it's actually based on a % of the rent that the residents pay. That's correct.
I mentioned schools. I know you're going to see them in just a few minutes as soon as we get through here, and I can't rush this through because we got 58 minutes we got to go through with, you know. But you're going to talk with the school officials and show that transparency is your goal.
Yes.
Correct.
I mean,
absolutely.
you want it open so everybody can know, because you have to work with all entities, you know. But I was talking with the superintendent of schools, Ben Martindale, Dr. Ben Martindale, and he was mentioning about, because he wasn't in on this from the beginning, and he just heard about it by the grapevine. There were 127 students that would be, that's if he heard it was going to be demolished, right?
Yeah.
Which is just hearsay.
Hearsay.
Right? It's not coming from you. It's a hearsay. That 127 students would be affected by it, and he's counting $5,900 per student, you know, which would amount to about $800,000 that the school district would lose per year. And he was really excited about it and so forth. But we're here to say that that's not going to happen, at least this year.
It will not happen this year. He could lose some students later in the year. Particularly, we would anticipate
but
that
not
some
wholesale,
of
not
the
wholesale.
that some of the families would probably choose to relocate at the end of the first, semester of school, and obviously that'll be their choice as to when they relocate. But yes, the families will relocate. We anticipate that some of them will stay in the city of North Chicago. Some of them will choose to go other cities, other states, because they'll be able to do that. But I think the important thing to remember is while there may be a short lapse period and when there will be no children at the site, we are building back more units, and we would anticipate there would be more children that would be coming back to the site upon redevelopment.
Right. So all this depends on HUD approval, and you can't rush. Like we got a song in church.
HUD.
You can't rush God.
You can't rush HUD.
That's
You
for
can't rush.
certain.
So but it's good that you're willing to give our citizens the information as you receive it.
Right.
Exactly.
That's the intent.
And that's all you can do. And so we really should. And I can appreciate David Northern too, because you were invited to speak to the city council.
Yes.
And you came and gave to the best of your knowledge. You say, here it is, here.
Yep. Any time.
That was great.
Any organization within the city or any concerned citizens, like I mentioned earlier, we met with a number of groups earlier today, and we continually meet with groups in the next couple of days about the development. And I think it's something that's great for the whole county of Lake, along with the city of North Chicago.
Oh, yeah. Okay. I think you gave us an inventory too of your housing too. Right?
We have 620 public housing units throughout Lake County, along with 2,803 vouchers, housing choice vouchers. And we also operate about 28 units that's not subsidized.
Okay. And you do have training for your special programs, I guess.
We have housing counseling where we help families, and it's been great because over the last couple of years, being a state-sponsored hardest hit organization, we was able to help save a number of homeowners from foreclosure. Years ago, it's easier to keep a family in a home than to have them lose that home, leave that structure that possibly become dilapidated or vacant, that cause a tremendous amount of problems throughout most communities. But to keep that family in that structure is important. So one of the things that the Lake County Housing Authority do, we don't just focus on the bricks and mortar. We also focus on families, and we also go outside the box and not just focusing on low income or seniors or persons with disabilities, but we go and have programs for the whole community of Lake.
I want to congratulate you again, Mr. Northern, because your housing chairman, Brother DeLacy Peters, the chairman of the Lake County Housing Authority, he was right at the forum, you know. Yes. He had confidence in you, but he just wanted to come out and hear you speak to the group. I think that was great to have your chairman taking time for. Of course, he's retired like I am, though, so he can do that. What about your board? How many on your board?
We have 7-member board, and it's a very diverse board, very skilled board. And one of the things that's been so important, we have board members from various backgrounds. So we have a community development city planner on our board. We have a retired construction contractor that was very successful business here in Lake County. We have a banker on our board. We have you know, community leaders from the Round Lake area. We have Lake County Community Development representative. We have actually Curtis Robinson, one of our board members. He was the founder for the Center for Independent Living and remain a president. You know, he happened to be a board member, and which is important. You know, he's a person that focus and fight for persons with disabilities, and he's a person with a disability, and he does a great job on our board. So when we looked at board members, we wanted, you know, not just a few people that like housing or care about public housing. We wanted people that can bring something to the table and help us grow as an organization. So when we have construction-related issues, we have a retired owner of a construction company. When we have community development type issues, we have a city planner along with an ex-community development official. Our chairman Peters, you mentioned, he was a real estate executive with Allstate. So and having a banker also. So I think our skill sets that we have on our board is
well, I want to congratulate you now. I guess you know what I found out, if you wind David Northern up, he'll go. If you don't wind him, he'll go anyway.
That's right.
Thank you very much for coming from
Brooks.
South Carolina, and you'll be going back in a couple of days, right?
I got a few other road trips yet this week, but then I'll be headed home this weekend.
Yeah, and thank you, brother, from the
Benoit
company.
You got it.
Torrin Presley from Atlanta, Georgia. Yes. We had a diverse panel here. And I want to thank you very much, and Lake County certainly appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Lake County. Ladies and gentlemen, we want to thank you for taking time from your busy schedule to view the redevelopment plans for Marion Jones in the great city of North Chicago. This has been Community Forum that will air at 7 o'clock every Thursday night, and on Channel 17. It will air in Kenosha, Wisconsin, Time Warner TV twice at 1 p.m. on Thursday and also 8 a.m. on Saturday. And it will also air in Chicago on CAN TV, that's C-A-N TV, Channel 19, 21, and the religious channel on 26. And we felt that because of Charles January's interest in transparency, that we would have this program tonight, more transparency. This has been Community Forum. My name is Dr. Waddell Brooks Sr., your host.